We're on the lunch break of day 25 of the Undercover Policing Inquiry. We've been listening to the fifth day of evidence of Bob Lambert. He's been questioned this morning about his relationship with Belinda Harvey, and then since the break he's been questioned about his involvement in the planting of incendiary devices at Debenhams stores in the 11th of July 1987. This was an incident that he's really built his career on. We got to see the annual report covering letter from 1987, which really pinpointed this event as one of the rare tangible results of the deployment of undercover officers. I'm joined by Kate Wilson, who's been following the evidence as well. What have you made of it?
Well, I mean, the evidence this morning was, it was horrific. There were some moments that I really felt were horrific. His impassioned speech about how it's completely unfair that he be considered a sexual predator because, Bob Robinson was kind to these women, and just also that he seems to think that the only damage that he caused, that people, he actually used the phrase that he thought that the women would look back fondly on these relationships, and that the only damage that he caused was because they found out. And he's totally blind to the years of these women's lives, of our lives, that they stole. But in his case, the years of these women's lives that he stole by making them live in a false relationship. I mean, in Belinda's evidence, we heard how he really changed the course of her life. He changed her career path. He influenced her decisions on whether to buy a house. Like, he really, put her life on hold. And we heard about how he spent a year in a relationship with her planning his exit. So that year was just lost time for her. She was planning a life with him and he was planning to leave. And he's completely blind to all of that. And there was another moment this morning that I was quite struck by, that he was asked to describe the relationship that he had with Belinda Harvey, and the word that he used to describe it was supportive. And quite a lot of us kind of went at that point because I think that there's a reason for having these relationships that Bar hasn't really explored, which is the use of relationships with women for emotional support in the stressful job of being an undercover officer. And it's something that has come up in conversations that we've had with each other, about the sense that we were being used for emotional support to the extent that some of the women probably ought to be paid therapy hours. Like they would have their breakdowns with us. So that's that was kind of quite shocking to hear him say that. I don't think that's really come up yet. And then we kind of got to the bit about what the managers knew, and we're back to write the name down. If these people are being protected, they're unlikely to be held accountable. They're being protected by Bob, they're being protected by the inquiry, but we did get to the sort of don't ask, don't tell thing, where he said, well, if I'd told my managers, I would have put them in a difficult position, and I think Bar kind of failed to really drill into that, because that was the finding in the IPT, that they couldn't specifically pin down which managers knew, but they did rule that there was an overall culture of don't ask, don't tell, and turning a blind eye to stuff that basically everyone knew was happening, but so long as you didn't talk about it, you didn't have to act on it. And obviously then we got to the Debenhams stuff, which we haven't really finished going through yet, but
we've barely begun on it really, but already we're getting a sense of what Lambert's defence is going to be, which is complete denial to a level which I don't know what I was expecting, but I thought he might engage with the idea that he was somehow connected to the people in the cell. But we were just seeing there was a complete absence of intelligence reports from that time period, but there was that. He even said that he couldn't even recall. He must have done, but he couldn't even recall whether he saw Paul Gravitt, Jeff Shepherd, and Andrew Clark during that key month between his substantive report on an upcoming incendiary device campaign and the planting of the devices in Debenhams stores on the 11th of July.
Yeah, this is we've been through all this reporting with the members of the ALF cell, and they all say that Bob was there. What's particularly hard to believe in what he's saying is that he's saying that not only was he not part of the cell, not only was he not reporting on the changes, but also that he'd noticed nothing. Which kind of backs up what everyone else has been saying of, if you were in the ALF planning an action, you wouldn't have talked about it. But it's very odd when you look at all the rest of his reporting where he kind of claims that, it was aspirational, but actually people were really loose-lipped and you kind of knew what was going on. And he basically stands by all of his reporting. And now he's got to the really key bit and he's like, oh, no, I didn't notice anything. Don't even know where I was. And of course, all these reports have disappeared. We suspect they probably disappeared into the same hole as the CCTV footage from the Harrow branch of Debenhams, which was handed to Special Branch and disappeared sometime between that moment and now. Well, actually, sometime between that moment and the court hearing, I believe, the trial of the activists who were arrested.
Yeah, I mean, I really get the impression that he's going to try and stick with this total denial of everything, really, for the rest of the Debenhams one. It is the one of the most interest today is being live streamed. You can watch the hearings almost live, 10-minute delay.
Mitting did suggest that at some point in this afternoon they're going to switch the live stream off, but I believe that the stuff about the Debenhams action, which is still to come, is going to be live streamed this afternoon from just before 2 o'clock probably on the YouTube, and I think that stuff might be worth watching. I mean, this whole question about Lambert's reporting. I mean, so the big issue is the sparsity of any reporting before the action happened, and then the detailed reports and the drip feeding of information about what would have been very top secret stuff. I mean, it would have been very top secret stuff anyway, but in the aftermath of what happened at the Luton store, people would have been very circumspect about talking about this stuff. And somehow Lambert knew absolutely nothing, was completely head in the clouds, unaware of anything, until the day after. And then the day after it happened, suddenly he knows what's going on. He's right in the thick of it. He's filing reports with his managers. And that is almost a smoking gun in itself, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, we need to see how the inquiry deals with that. Yeah, so we've only got a short lunch break as ever. We'll be reporting live. You can watch the hearings as they happen, pretty much as they happen, and we'll be reporting live on Twitter. I'm live tweeting it. Lots of other people are as well, including Kate. And I'll do another reaction video at the end of the day. I will confess I'm not really live tweeting. I'm not very good at it. Occasionally I rage tweet, but yeah, I wouldn't describe my tweeting as live tweeting. But the Cops campaign are live tweeting as well, and that's pretty good coverage between you and the Cops campaign. You get a good idea what's going on.
Yeah, so please join us. Anything else you want to add before we sign off?
No, I do encourage watching this afternoon. He's speaking a little bit faster today than he was. I suspect that the punishment for speaking slowly is having to come back next Tuesday. But there was an amusing moment where Mitting kind of said, I think we might soon have to switch off the live stream, and Barr said, I think soon is probably an overstatement to do with anything in this evidence, frankly. But he has speeded up a bit, I guess. Otherwise, they're threatening him with having to stay here over Christmas and continue giving evidence.
I mean, it's we were told by Mitting this morning that the hearing today would finish at 4:30. I don't believe him. And maybe it will because it's a Friday, but I don't believe it.
I mean, I think people need their weekend. We're all exhausted. They've all been here all week as well. And I mean, the inquiry and all the barristers and everyone, they can't even sneak out like we do to go and have a stretch and a cup of coffee when it's getting too boring. They have to sit there through all of it. So I can imagine they might end at 4 now that they've got the extra day on Tuesday to play with. Yeah. I mean, just for the record, I don't get to go out and have a stretch either. As soon as we get to breaks, I do a bloody video. So this is why I'm not live tweeting.
Anyway, thanks for joining us. I'll see you this afternoon.